Welcome back to our weekly market wrap. Equity indices ended FY25 with modest gains, as foreign fund inflows and blue-chip buying helped cushion the impact of concerns around Trump's proposed auto import tariffs. However, the broader market lagged behind. Stay tuned, and by the end of this video, we'll unpack what drove these moves and what to watch for in the week ahead. Equity indices declined in a volatile, shortened week as global markets tumbled after President Trump's unexpected tariff hike. The imposition of steep reciprocal tariffs by the US on Indian exports, ranging up to 26%, marks a significant shift in bilateral trade dynamics and poses challenges for India's economic recovery, while offering a relative advantage against China, Vietnam, and others. Key sectors such as chemicals, metals, IT services, textiles, and electronics are expected to bear the brunt, with reduced competitiveness, possibility of dumping, and potential revenue declines as exports to the US become more expensive. Moving forward, India may explore tariff reductions on US imports or negotiate trade concessions to mitigate the impact, though geopolitical complexities and domestic considerations could complicate these efforts. The Sensex fell 2.7%, while the Nifty 50 dropped by 2.6%. Meanwhile, the mid-cap and small-cap indices declined 2.5% and 1.7% respectively. These moves reflect investor caution as global tariff concerns clouded sentiment. Let's take a look at this week's key economic updates. India's economy remains resilient, with Moody's projecting 6.5% growth, the highest among G20 nations, supported by tax measures and monetary easing. In Q3 FY25, the current account deficit stood at $11.5 billion, easing from the previous quarter. Merchandise trade deficit widened, while net services receipts rose due to strong exports. Manufacturing PMI hit an 8-month high of 58.1 in March, while the services PMI remained solid at 58.5. RBI announced Rs 80,000 crore in OMO purchases across April to boost liquidity. Globally, Eurozone inflation eased to 2.2% in March, while unemployment fell to 6.1%. Australia held rates at 4.1% despite cooling inflation at 2.4%. China's Caixin PMI improved to 51.2, signaling growth. In the US, Trump's new tariff policy sparked global trade concerns. Meanwhile, private payrolls rose by 155,000 in March, indicating labor market strength. Among this week's top gainers, VTL surged 19.2% as the US imposed a 37% tariff on Bangladeshi exports, boosting India's textile export prospects. JSW Holdings jumped 18.6%, hitting a new 10-year high. BSE rallied 17.7% after its board approved a 2-1 bonus issue. On the downside, among the losers, we had UCO Bank fell by 18.7%, trading below all key moving averages and indicating a bearish trend. Coforge declined by 18.5% and Persistent dropped by 18.2%, both impacted by Trump's new tariffs on IT services, which triggered a sector-wide sell-off and raised concerns about a potential slowdown in tech spending by US firms. In the unlisted space, ESDS, Software Solutions, files draft papers with SEBI for a 600 crore IPO. OYO reports a 60% revenue growth in Q4 FY25. Goa Shipyard Limited awards a 11.36 crore contract to Avantel Limited Onyx Renewable to set up 7 gigawatts energy plants. Unlisted companies where interest levels are high: MSCI, NSE, Apollo Green Energy, Farmesi, CSK, NSDL, and Tata Capital. Get in touch for more. That wraps up this week's market highlights. Here's what to watch in the week ahead. Next week, despite volatility, strong economic fundamentals, RBI support, and upcoming Q4 earnings will guide market direction, with FIIs, DIIs, crude and dollar trends shaping sentiment. The Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee is scheduled to meet from April 7 to 9, 2025. India's industrial production data for February and the Consumer Price Index-based inflation data for March will be released on April 11, 2025. Key global economic data releases are scheduled for next week. Japan's consumer confidence and the US FOMC minutes will be released on April 9th. On April 10th, markets will watch for China's consumer price inflation and US inflation data. Finally, on April 11th, the US will release its Producer Price Index and Michigan consumer sentiment data. That's all for today. Subscribe to Ticona Capital for more insights and wealth-building opportunities from the themes of the decade. Visit us at ticonacapital.smallcase.com to explore thematic investments in the Amrit Kaal. Don't forget to like, comment and share. See you next week.